Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Major number MDLT-1 Pit Bull Metal Door Latch Tool is what this is. This is a tool that is going to very likely make the job of adding a latch bolt preparation to the edge of your steel door a much less complex prospect. It won't work on every metal door, but it will work on very common hollow metal doors, and we'll discuss that in a moment. Let's do a tour of what's in the box first, and we'll talk about where you're going to use it. I'll take out the components, and I'll show them to you in order of importance, I suppose. So the first item, of course, is the business end of this Pit Bull latch making tool. Here it is. It's covered in oil. This will need to, you're going to want it to stay that way. You're going to want to coat that so that it stays corrosion free. You're going to make a liberal use of bearing grease, white lithium grease, when you're using the tool as well. But this is the tool itself, and let's just take it apart. You'll end up needing, of course, to take it apart every single time that you use it. So we're going to just draw that primary bolt, which I think is 1 1/8 inches. We'll look at the installation instructions in a moment. Okay, so we've got the bolt pulled out. You've got your thrust bearing. You have two final components that are here. This is called the form die. You'll notice that there is a line scribed on either side. That's for finding your center line. That's your form die. And then you have your draw die, which is here. Okay. It's not a light tool, that's for sure. Probably 1.5 pounds is what it weighs. Going to put this back together. The way to put this back together is the form die has a couple of screws that are here and down here. That side has to go up. Okay. Then our thrust bearing. Then our bolt. I think it weighs about 1.5 pounds is what it weighs. You're also going to get in the package a couple of metal plates. And those metal plates are used when you are doing the actual operation of creating the embossed prep for the latch bolt. And that is, they are here. These two plates will go on either side of the area that you're going to latch, and then you'll put a couple of C-clamps over them to keep the door held together so that you literally don't crush or destroy or deform the edge of the door when you're exerting all this tremendous pressure on the edge of the door. We'll put that aside. A couple of Allen wrenches. The larger of the two will be used to mark the location for the holes that you'll need to drill in countersink. Actually, I think the smaller of the two. Yes, the smaller of the two. The larger of the two is back here. We'll talk about what that's used before the end of the video, what that is used for. Then you're going to get the installation instructions, which are included. They're here. Okay, now, where are you going to use this? When you have a hollow metal door that is of the right type of construction and you need to add a lock set or a deadbolt to the edge of a door that does not have a latch bolt prep, what the Pit Bull will basically do is when you get the draw die on the inside of the door, after you've drilled your 2 1/8, you're going to sneak it in through that way. After you've drilled a 1-inch hole in the edge of the door, the draw die will go in. Now there is, and what that is for back here, time to tell you now, that is there for you to literally attach a piece of string to so that you don't lose this down in the door. That would be dreadful. If you've ever tried to retrieve something from the center of a metal door, that's pretty tough. It's pretty tough. I've had to go so far as to drill holes in the bottom of the door to retrieve something. A magnet's not going to work. It's just going to stick all the way down as it's coming down. So you won't want to lose that. That is there for you to literally tie off a piece of string so that you can pull it out should you drop it. So the draw die goes in the hole. Then the form die goes on the outside. Okay, your thrust bearing and your bolt then tie it all together. So on the outside, all you see is the form die, the smaller of the two, and then your thrust bearing and your bolt head. There is what they refer to as the pit bull ears. Okay, they're not on the other side. Make sure these are located towards the folded side of the door, not the side with the welded seam. So what they're talking about here is this pit bull tool will not work on many doors. It will work on very common doors, but not on all of them. So when you have a lock seam construction in the edge of your door, like a Seco Regent, or the old Kiwane E door was a lock seam construction, you have a piece of steel that's bent like this, and then you have a piece of steel that's bent like this. Then you have the other piece of steel. I can't, of course, contort my hands in that sort of fashion, but they lock together, giving you the ability to have a door that's basically mechanically held together. Amweld's doors were manufactured that way as well. I had been to their plant and saw them actually taking the doors and literally pushing them, bumping them against something to get the lock seam tabs to lock together. Well, that gives you a lock seam edge. You can take and weld that lock seam closed. You'll weld it and then Bondo it filled if you wanted to do that. It does make for a stronger door. But you have to have that sort of construction, meaning you cannot have the type of two pans that are bent together like this on top of each other, because that seam, that center seam there, would prevent the pit bull from working. And you can't have a door like the old Kiwane VMAX door, or I think the Curry's 700 series, where you've got a U-channel and then you've got steel plates on either side of that. You can't deform that much metal. Let's switch to the screen view and let's take a closer look at a quick description of those different door edges, so that you understand what you're really working with. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. This is the item that we are looking at, and before we talk about the edge construction, let's look at the photographs that we have posted down below. There's the box. There's everything in the box. That's the pit bull itself, bolt, thrust bearing, form die, exit die, I think those are called. Form die and draw die is what they're called. Side view, end view, top view, bottom view. That's where you can add your string. The components disassembled. We'll talk about these ears in a moment. Those are those two plates that we discussed and the two Allen wrenches. Okay, so let's take a look at what I was talking about earlier, and as I was saying earlier, this cannot be used on every type of metal door edge. You can have a lock seam type door construction like this. It will work on that. You can have a, I don't really recall what they call this type of construction, but I'll show you the resource. I'll show you that. There's this construction. It will work on this. Then you also have this type of door construction where there are literally two pans that are folded down on top of each other. It's not going to work on this because you have no way to get this web out of there. The other construction is like this, where I'm accustomed to it having a very large angle here, or it could have just a very thick piece of steel that's here. But I'm more familiar with seeing it like this. Okay, it's not going to work on this, and it's not going to work on this. Seco Regent door will look like this. Other door manufacturers' doors will look like this. This was the Kiwane VMAX door. It's not going to work on high-end hollow metal doors either. Kiwane's D-Series door had a substantial amount of steel on the inside of it. It would never work in this type of construction. Now, there is a document from the Steel Door Institute, which is Steel Door Institute, and they have a document called Glossary, but it's steeldoor.org. And then from here, and I don't come here often, but I've been here countless times. Now, let's look at standards. Technical Data Series. They should have a document called Glossary. Yeah, there it is. Glossary of Terms. So that's the SDI 134-20. Let's open it up as a PDF. And I know that what I'm looking for is under door edge or door seam construction. So I'm scrolling down to D, and indeed there it is in that document. There's also an image of it that will come up very easily as well from their site. You can pull up the HTML version of this document. Again, then go to D, and you're looking for door edge seam, and there it is. So it's going to work. Your pit bull is going to work on this style or this style. It's not going to work on the other two. So you have to know what your door construction is. But Seco Regent door is probably the most common hollow metal door there is. It's going to work on. Curry's may have a door that will work, and I don't think that they do. So be mindful. Check your door construction before you proceed. Now, those pit bull ears that they're telling us about, pit bull ears, when in use, those are to be located towards the folded side, not the welded seam side. And the folded side is this. This is the bent or the folded side, not over here. That's going to allow you to keep the tool engaged against a known reference point. Keep the tool in line. Okay. Now we've talked about where you can and where you won't be able to use it. You know, it's pesky, this sort of construction. I think Mesker's doors are like this. They're NP series doors. Don't quote me. I just don't recall. I know Amweld made doors like this as well. And lock seam as well. Tab and lock seam they've made. So be mindful. Again, check it out before you buy the pit bull. You might find you cannot use it, even though as much as you might like to use it. Now, extended description information down below. Pit bull door tool. Latch forming tool for lock installations for use on standard steel doors. True, but you know, we're going to be able to call all of these construction a standard steel door. But now you know how to determine that. The pit bull tool is used to form a rectangular pocket or an embossment in the edge of a hollow metal door. It's not cutting metal. It's not a die. It's not punching. It's just embossing. Application of the tool is almost effortless. Simply drill the latch and crossbore holes to install the pit bull. You need to have the 2 1/8, and you need to have the 1 inch in the edge of the door. Using a few turns with a wrench, it will squeeze the form die to the draw die and make an indentation or an embossment in the door's edge. This will result in a pocket that will accept a 1 inch or 1 1/8 wide, 2 1/4 inch tall latch. Doesn't do strikes, although you could do a 2 1/4 tall strike with this. I don't see why that would be an ultimate problem. But 2 1/4 tall only. They do make 2 1/4 tall full lip strikes. They even do for deadbolts as well. The Hit 24 is a companion tool that will help locate your strike. We'll look at the Hit 24 in a moment. Not for use on doors with a center seam. Center seam. Sold as each. When you buy one, we'll ship you one. Let's not forget to look at the Hit 24. Let's look at the installation instructions first. Okay, now here are these installation instructions. These are packaged with the unit. What they're showing you here is they want you to drill that 2 1/8 inch hole and the 1 inch hole, and they're using their Hit 44 tool for doing that. There it is. We've got a video of that here as well that you can review. So, get the 2 1/8 inch hole and the 1 inch hole drilled. The draw die is placed inside the door with the ears toward the folded side. Those are the ears, and it's towards this side here. The opposite side of the door has a seam that is welded. Not necessarily. May not be welded at all. It might be lock seam. A tab and forget the other term. Just a lock tab, really. Now, the draw die being placed inside the door. Use care with this step. Don't drop it. There's an 832 tapped hole in the back of the draw die. Use it to attach a wire or lanyard for peace of mind. Not supplied. I'm not sure if the wire or lanyard or the peace of mind are not supplied. All kidding aside, moving on, lube the threads of the draw bolt with bearing grease prior to installing the pit bowl fixture in the door. Failure to properly lube the bolt is going to damage the tool. And the reasoning is because the amount of force that you're going to be applying to it, that bolt needs to not be encountering any sort of friction or resistance from just being asked to do the, bringing of the two dies together. So that must be lubed every single time. My opinion is that you would lube it and clean it before and after every use. Now, top of the door to the center of the hole, you're already going to have that marked because you're hit 44 if you're using that. Okay. And obviously that etched line is what you're going to mark up against on the door edge. And I would use my combination square and I would run a light pencil mark across all of this, not just one side. I want to make sure that I'm even on both sides. I don't want my latch bolt to be tipped. I want it to be at a complete perpendicular to the floor. So I'd run that pencil mark across both sides and mark and line it up on both sides. Center the forming die over the latch hole. Pencil mark on door edge shows center of latch hole. The forming die has an alignment mark to locate the center of the die. Make sure the die set screws in. So here and here are two set screws. Make sure they're drawn back in so that they don't make contact with the edge of the door. They must not protrude at this time. Now, here's what those two steel bars are for. When you have a standard steel door, in air quotes, standard, meaning regular, economy grade, I don't want the expensive one. Give me the standard one. You're going to throw lots of pressure on here, and you could easily bow that out. So you're going to want to make sure that you've got these bars applied there. They've put them there for that reason. Obviously, the people at Major have found it's necessary. The use of two steel bars supplied and C-clamps not supplied will help prevent the door from distortion when forming the latch pocket. Clamp on one side. As shown, basically. This is where you're going to need a special tool. Do not use a crescent wrench. Use a box wrench. Or a box wrench would be great. A really large, long box wrench. And I would use that tool only for this job. You don't want to you don't want to round off the outside corners of this using a crescent wrench. A crescent wrench is a bad idea for this. This works better than an adjustable wrench. Tighten until the forming die bottoms out on the draw die inside the bar. Keep going until it stops. At that point, take your larger of the two Allen wrenches, and you're going to mark the location of where you're going to then drill and tap. Drill a number 29 hole and tap an 832 thread. That's going to locate that material for you. If you happen to be doing a deadbolt strike, 2 1/4, they do make 2 1/4 tall deadbolt strikes. Great. If you happen to be doing a full lip strike, you would then get your die grinder out and cut part of this out. I think it would work out really well. Oh, sorry. The problem is going to be you're not going to be able to get the die set in there without a 2 1/8 inch hole. Suppose if you had full dummy trim, you could make that work. But nonetheless, that's what it looks like at the end of the story. This is the page that I had referred to a couple of times defining all the parts. Failure to lube the draw bolt prior to use may cause the threads to bind, seize, and or strip out. WD-40 and other spray lubricants are not what to use. Use a good quality bearing grease for this. White lithium, I think, would be perfectly acceptable. Your draw bolt, your thrust bearing, your form die, and your draw die. That's what we're looking at here. Now, let's remember the HIT 24, and let's click on our product brochure here. Now, the HIT 24 is part of this family of latch forming tools. What the HIT 24 is going to do is going to allow you to mark based on the prep you've made with the pit bull. After installing a lock at a steel door, the easy way to locate the strike plate is to install the HIT 24 and then run this pin through the back side of it, and that will then allow you to mark the center line of where that strike needs to be. Okay. The re-drill guide is neat. It's on here. Hopefully you don't ever have to use it. But if you need to take a 2 3/8 hole and turn it into 2 3/4, if you've ever done that, the way that we've done it is we would weld that hole closed. We would take a 2 1/8 inch piece of steel, and we would place it in here and tack weld it all the way around, grind that, and then re-drill. But you could attach this to the edge of the door and then use this pin as your arbor in place of your drill bit into one of these holes, and it will guide, position, and bring the hole saw down onto the door correctly. Okay, I prefer the Dutchman approach where you've welded that closed, but there you go. Now, there's a link below this video here to the manufacturer's page. From here, you'll be able to pull up not only all of the major products that we sell by means of this horizontal navigation here, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. Looking at the full product catalog will allow you to review all of the different items that Major produces. Hardware installation tools, security hardware, locksmithing tools, installation aids for all of the above. And as you scroll through, you'll start to see the security hardware that they have. Locking slide bolts, a blockade bar, kind of like a manual police lock, I would call it. Different pieces of security hardware. Key block, put that over your knob or your lever to prevent people from accessing the trim. Key traps, if you want to make sure that one key is captured or in place while you access the other key, you can do that. You might not ever want a key to leave a particular area. A key trap will do that. Latch guards, I don't know if they still make these. These may be discontinued. Security strikes, sliding and swinging rack style cylinder operated locks. Lock installation aids. Mounting brackets are here for different applications for locks and strikes. Security hardware, more latch guards. Cylinder rings, cylinder guards are here as well. We continue to scroll through, and then we're going to start to get into lock installation tools. And here's our MDLT1 pit bull. They have a die set if you're doing double D preps in metal filing cabinets. Locksmithing tool. This is a capping tool, they call it. I don't see one for small format, unfortunately. That's interesting. I would think that the first one they would make would be for small format. Other locksmithing tools, a multi-purpose tool, plug followers, cylinder pullers are here as well, locksmithing aids, screw assortments. What they have here are these cylinder extension kits, and the bottom line is, without going too much into it, if you have a standard cylinder and you want to make it longer, you can do so by ordering one of these extensions or using them with each other. And then you'll have the drive cam that you'll order, and you'll be able to build yourself pretty quickly a extended length cylinder. And they do make a tool for helping you do that, which we probably haven't. Oh, here it is. The MCE 100. It's a fixture that will allow you to properly locate the holes and guide your tap when you're creating the drilled and tapped holes in the back of your cylinder to then mechanically screw your extension to. I've done this procedure. It's simple, straightforward, and very effective. If you need, you could build a 3-inch cylinder, just a matter of, not minutes, but a short amount of time once you have all the right components. Hardware installation tool, HIT. As you scroll through here, the first thing we get to is their cross-reference guide. So if you know that you're doing Falcon mortise locks, you're going to be looking at the HIT 45 FL4. That's going to be a template that will clamp down onto the HIT 45. But anyway, the reference guide is here because it will tell you the available tools for whatever you're prepping. And they have different systems and platforms. And you may want to run past us your list before you order it to make sure you've not missed anything. But they have individual components and complete kits as well. Okay. I will leave the balance of the catalog up to you to discover. Let's wrap up this video on camera. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. Now, a really nice quality tool, is a statement synonymous with all things Major manufacturing. If you have the type of door construction that the Pitbull will work on, not those types that we had talked about earlier, I would certainly recommend the tool. Your other option of not having the tool is not an impossible option, but the other way that you would go about doing it would be to take your combination square and you would mark your rectangle on the edge of the door. You would then have a compressor, and you would have a die grinder or a drill and a jigsaw, and you would cut that completely out. At that point, you'd need to then weld in or mechanically fasten mounting tabs to mount your latch bolt to. And that's all great. That's generally how we do it. We would never really do it this way. But die grinder is going to mean a compressor. Die grinding, that's going to mean a compressor with CFM that will handle the work, so you're not cutting, waiting 5 minutes to build some air pressure, cutting again, waiting 5 minutes. The pancake compressor is not going to work for that very well. The jigsaw idea, that's great. That works, with a file. If you're good with a jigsaw, drill 4 holes in each corner, connect the dots with your jigsaw, you're in good shape. File it nice and clean. Mounting tabs drilled, countersunk, or plug welded. The problem with the cutting and the welding is that you're creating noise. You are creating fumes, and you're creating heat. And when you're in those situations, you run into smoke detectors and throwing a lot of heat onto something, sparks coming off onto carpet. So the Pitbull is a way to very quietly, you can take the door out of the space and drill the 2 holes and then do your preparation. So it's possibly something that will be a very valuable tool to use, to have. You may not use it all the time, but I think the times that you'll say, gosh, I've got the perfect tool for this, you're going to say, boy, I'm really glad I spent the money. I don't use it very often, but every time I do, I'm making money using the tool. Allows you a really good-looking, professional sort of finished preparation for that latch bolt without creating a whole lot of difficulty for yourself. If you have any questions on the Major, this is their part number MDLT-1 Pitbull metal door latch tool, or any other Major product, please feel free to reach out to us. A good group of people over at Major. They are extremely thoroughly responsive when it comes to technical support questions, things of that nature. And to them, I say thank you very much. Thank you. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.